That girl danced with a wine glass in her hand. At a glance, anyone would remark how fortunate she seemed, boasting a flourishing career, fun-loving friends, and a handsome boyfriend. Surely, many would muse, was she born under a lucky star? Her name was Emmy, a vibrant 23-year-old emerging singer, undeniably from the outside. She seemed to have it all: beauty, intelligence, and fame. Yet, very few knew her true journey, the challenges she'd faced, or her innermost feelings. Emmy was a private person, seldom revealing her deepest thoughts even to her closest companions. "Happy birthday, Lizy. Oh my God, you look stunning tonight, darling," Emmy exclaimed as she greeted her best friend Lizy at her 23rd birthday bash. Accompanying her was David, the man Emmy had come to love deeply. "Thank you, Emmy," Lizy responded, her smile radiant as ever. "Happy birthday, Lizy," David chimed in. "Thanks," Lizy replied, still beaming. As the night wore on, the party was in full swing, with Emmy and David thoroughly enjoying themselves. However, when the dance game began, where everyone was given the freedom to pick a dance partner, the birthday girl, Lizy, was granted the special privilege of selecting any partner of her choice from a bowl of names. To Emmy's surprise, the name Lizy drew was David's. Lizy looked uneasy, and Emmy managed only an awkward smile. Nonetheless, she graciously allowed David to dance with Lizy. "I'm so sorry, Emmy," Lizy murmured. "Baby, are you okay?" David inquired, concern evident in his voice. "It's okay, guys," Emmy said, forcing a reassuring smile. "Have fun." With that, she retreated, a mix of emotions swirling within her. It was Lizy's event, wasn't it? She had every right to feel upset about what just transpired. And David, shouldn't he have come after her? The weight of the situation pressed heavily on Emmy's emotions. As the music played and couples swayed, Emmy found herself in a secluded spot at the back of the room, nursing a glass of wine and lost in her thoughts, a hint of bitterness in her gaze. The weight of isolation and disrespect bore down on her, tears threatening to spill. "I know how you feel, Emmy," a familiar voice said. It was Jen, someone she had known for a long time. "Go away, Jen. I don't want company right now," she snapped. "Go home, Emmy," he advised gently. "You don't have to stay here." Emmy's silence hung heavy in the air before she abruptly downed her wine and let the glass shatter on the floor, the sound competing with the upbeat dance music. Fury blazed in her eyes as she made to confront the crowd, but Jane's grip stopped her. "Emmy, stop. Remember who you are. A star. Do you want to tarnish that image?" Jean implored. "Isn't it my right to feel this way?" Emmy shot back. "Yes, but not now. Emmy, listen, it was just a dance. That's all you need to focus on, okay? Don't let this cloud your judgment," Jean said, placing both his hands on Emmy's shoulders. Their eyes locked in a poignant moment. And somehow, Jean's words and gaze managed to pacify Emmy's turmoil. "This hurts, Jean," she confessed, sinking back into her seat. Jean joined her, and the two shared a silent moment. Even though words were unspoken, the air was thick with unsaid emotions. Jean couldn't take his eyes off Emmy, wanting to offer comfort, but hesitating. Oblivious to Emmy's absence, the party continued, the guests dancing and laughing. After a while, Jean rose and extended his hand. "Would you dance with me?" he asked gently. Emmy let out a soft sigh. "I'd love to." As they joined the dancing crowd, Jean whispered, "Remember, Emmy, tonight, you're still the star," bringing a smile to her face. They began to dance, their movements so fluid and synchronized that all eyes turned to watch them. Their chemistry was palpable, and the rhythm seemed to pulse through them. From a distance, David stared at Emmy with a mix of anger and longing, while Lizy, feeling overshadowed, plotted her next move. Seizing the moment, Lizy abruptly halted the music, drawing all attention to her. "Okay, everyone, since the party is buzzing, how about we vote for the most charming girl here tonight? Lizy announced, her gaze fixed on Emmy. Walking over, Lizy taunted, seems like you want the title, darling. Emmy, taken aback by Lizy's sudden challenge, responded, Lizy, what's going on? It's your night. Everyone's here for you. Lizy, her voice tripping with condescension, retorted, well, Emmy, since I'm the queen tonight, shouldn't I have the freedom to dictate the events in my realm? Emmy, refusing to back down, shot back, this isn't a kingdom, Lizy, and these aren't your subjects. Show some respect. Lizy smirked, why the fuss, Emmy? Have you forgotten how to let loose now that you're busy maintaining your star-studded reputation? Emmy's patience snapped after hearing Lizy's taunt. She slapped Lizy across the face, leaving everyone in shock. Lizy, hand pressed to her reddening cheek, stumbled slightly, with David rushing to steady her. Seeing this, Emmy laughed bitterly. What's going on? Are the two of you sneaking around behind my back? Emmy's voice grew louder, her agitation evident. Speak up. What have you been doing behind my back? Emmy's eyes were wild, and her entire body trembled with rage. Seeing her so distraught, Jean couldn't hold back any longer. He threw a punch at David, sending him sprawling to the ground. The room filled with gasps and cries of shock. David, however, was quick to recover, lunging back at Jean, who deftly sidestepped before landing another blow. Have you lost your mind? Jean shouted. She's your girlfriend. How could you let her suffer while you two play your games? As John prepared to land another punch, Lizy tried to intervene. However, Emmy, tears streaming down her face, pulled her away. Despite the commotion, no one dared to step in, leaving the close friends to watch helplessly as the situation spiraled out of control. Enough, Lizy. What have you been up to behind my back? Speak up. Emmy's voice was shrill and desperate. Emmy, calm down, Maddy interjected, trying to be the voice of reason among her friends. Her gaze flitted between Lizy and Emmy, disappointment evident in her eyes. Emmy, after tonight, you need to focus on your own happiness and surround yourself with those who genuinely care about you. Maddy then turned her attention to Jen, who had finally let go of David, and then back to Lizy, who looked genuinely frightened. Listen up, everyone. I'm truly sorry for this disaster. Please leave immediately. Maddy's voice quivered with emotion. Go. Her command was sharper this time, and the remaining guests hurried out, leaving behind David, Jean, Emmy, Lizy, two of their friends, and Maddy. Lizy, how many times have I warned you against this toxic need for attention? Just because you're envious of Emmy's success doesn't mean you should scheme to take away everything she holds dear. Why be so selfish, especially towards Emmy, your so-called best friend? Maddy paused, her eyes piercing into David's soul. And you? What kind of man cheats with his girlfriend's best friend, especially when that girlfriend has been nothing but gracious? The two of you are leeches. There are creatures that show more humanity than you do. I don't care about the consequences for calling you out on your treachery, but you both need to own up to your actions now. Maddy tried to regain her composure, deeply troubled by the scene unfolding before her. The weight of her own guilt was palpable, as she had kept the secret affair between David and Lizy from Emmy for far too long. Watching Emmy, her dearest friend, crushed and betrayed by those she trusted most, including Maddy herself, was unbearable. Maddy could see Emmy's anguish, the raw pain of betrayal and shattered trust etched in her tear-streaked face. As Emmy abruptly left the venue, only Jen was swift enough to follow her, trying to reach out and offer solace. Emmy, just let me explain, Jean pleaded, attempting to bridge the gap between them. But Emmy rebuffed him, quickening her pace to distance herself from him. Persistently, Jean continued in pursuit, desperate to have her hear him out. Emmy, my only intention has always been to shield you from harm, because I genuinely love you. Just hear me out. She came to a sudden halt, her body heaving with sobs. trying to gather herself and process the whirlwind of emotions. Jean approached her cautiously, uttering an apology, but she remained silent for a moment. "Jean," she began, her voice quivering. "Do you have any idea what I've endured to reach this point in my life?" He hesitated, the weight of her question pressing down on him. "I've battled every challenge, faced every hardship head-on. If I couldn't run, I'd walk. And when I couldn't walk, I'd crawl. No matter how many times life knocked me down, I'd always find the strength to rise again. Do you know why I pushed through, Jean?" He swallowed hard, whispering, "Why?" "Because of all the pain and adversity I faced. I believed that if I achieved my dreams, I could escape that torment. But I was mistaken. Emmy, just take me home, Jean." Jean was lost in thought during the drive to Emmy's apartment. Despite their long-standing friendship that spanned back to their school days, he realized he knew very little about Emmy's deepest pains and struggles. He dropped her off, and they went their separate ways, both consumed by a whirlwind of emotions. In the aftermath of that night, Emmy distanced herself from her former friends and moved to the city center. 2 years passed, and the only glimpse Jean and their shared friends had of Emmy was through the media. Her career skyrocketed, solidifying her as a force to be reckoned with in the entertainment industry. One day, Jean found himself in a coffee shop, listening to Emmy's song playing softly in the background and reading an article about her recent interview. He was deep in thought when a familiar voice interrupted him. "Hi, John. Did you catch my interview?" Jean looked up, stunned to find Emmy standing before him, her radiant smile unchanged and her beauty undeniable. Their reunion was filled with shared memories, updates, and a deep understanding of how much they both had grown. "You left them all behind, Emmy," Jean remarked, still grappling with the dramatic changes in her life. "I didn't just leave them. I discarded them," Emmy replied with a determination in her eyes. "You're remarkable. It's thanks to you, Jean." "No, Emmy, it's because of your indomitable spirit. Your strength astounds me. I've always had to be resilient. In the end, I only had myself to rely on." "Can I count myself in?" Jean asked with a teasing glint in his eyes. Emmy's smile widened. "Yes, and you." Their laughter filled the coffee shop, a testament to their enduring bond. The reunion Jean had yearned for had finally come to fruition, and he couldn't be happier to see Emmy thriving.